Housing discrimination is against the law, but a growing number of black homeowners have recently alleged discrimination in their appraisals. Among them, Dr. Nathan Connolly and his wife, Dr. Shani Mott. According to the New York Times, the couple recently sued over the appraisal of their home in Baltimore. It came in at $472,000. Then they stripped their home of family photos, black art and literature. A white friend posed as the homeowner for the next appraisal. The new value, $750,000. The couple sued the Maryland-based appraisal company 2020 Valuations and the mortgage lender Loan Depot. A spokesperson for Loan Depot told ABC News that the company strongly opposes bias in home finance. Its statement reads in part, quote, "While appraisals are performed independently by outside expert appraisal firms, all participants in the home finance process must work to find ways to contribute to eradicating bias," unquote. 2020 Valuations has so far declined to comment. As it turns out, Dr. Connolly is a professor at Johns Hopkins University. His area of expertise, racial housing discrimination. Joining us now is Chastin Miles. He's a real estate expert and author of the book, The Real Before the Estate. Mr. Miles, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's step back from this case for just a second. How are home appraisals supposed to work? Is there a formula that everybody follows? Are there certain conventions and standards in terms of what to look at and what not to look at? Is there an agency that audits it and sets a professional standard? What is an appraisal supposed to be like?
Absolutely. An appraisal is supposed to be an opinion of value that is taken into consideration when approving someone's loan or refinance. You can get appraisals for just about anything, really, but they are supposed to be based on facts. They're not supposed to take anything outside of things such as square footage, updates that you've done to the home, the other homes that have sold in the area around you, simply the facts. No race, no family size, no type of discrimination. And appraisers are licensed professionals. And so it really blows my mind every time I hear about one of these cases, because it should not be taken into consideration someone's race or family, anything like that when it comes to an appraisal.
I wonder how you see this phenomenon today compared to, say, redlining in the past, which, for those who don't know, the Federal Housing Administration used to have maps drawn of all the major areas around the country, and there were parts of the map that were drawn in green and blue, where there were preferences given to federal loans. Some of them were drawn in yellow, and some, where black and brown people tended to live, that were bordered in red, where it was basically impossible to get a federal loan. That was so much more overt. How do you see this more covert, alleged practice fitting in to the context of all this?
Joshua, I look at this as just another form of discrimination or bias when it comes to the housing market. Yes, you mentioned redlining, but there's no doubt that our country has had a huge history of discrimination and practices when it comes to people trying to get homes, black and brown people trying to get homes. You know, the experiment that the doctors did is something that we refer to as called whitewashing. So it's stripping your home of anything that could show that you are a family of color and replacing that with items that would allude to you being a white family or white individuals living in the home. Redlining, whitewashing, it's another form of discrimination that is happening in housing that unfortunately hasn't been put in the books or on the record yet. And so people are getting away with it. And I'm so proud of the people coming forward about this and making this known, because now it is getting the attention that it has deserved for many years.
So we've got this lawsuit. We'll see how these lawsuits play out. And obviously the companies are denying any kind of racial bias in these appraisals. There's also larger federal efforts to try to deal with equity in home appraisals and home valuations. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke about this in March. Here's part of what she said. Listen.
For so many people in our country, a home is more than just a roof over your head and a place to live. Those are essential needs. But a home represents, in addition to that, so much that is about financial security, that is about the potential to build intergenerational wealth.
I think that piece of it, of what the vice president said, is key, is the interracial wealth potential, especially since after the Civil War, a lot of the ways that blacks were allowed to accrue wealth was through whatever property they could live on and or farm. So land became an extremely vital form of wealth. We couldn't really just go to Wall Street and put money down on stocks and bonds. How do you see the future of this, of trying to address some of these lingering biases in the home ownership system?
Great question. I am very much so looking forward to see what comes about the Biden administration's efforts to fix these inequalities. This task force is fully inactive right now to really focus on investigating the differences in these inequalities in the appraisal industry. It's important for everyone to understand that this appraisal industry is not a very diverse industry as a whole, with 97% of appraisers being white males. And so this task force, it's going to focus on 5 different categories that will fully cover not only the values, but fully go into investigations, governance of appraisers' actions, diversifying this industry, and making sure that the fair housing laws are how they should be in 2020 and beyond. Not what was just written and passed before, but making sure that these fair housing laws are holding up to what they're meant to do.
Chastin Miles, author of The Real Before the Estate. Appreciate you making time for us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for making time for us as well. You can send us your thoughts and questions on any of the topics we discussed tonight. We're at NBC Now Tonight on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook.